Hey guys, All in Crypto here, and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for another YouTube video. I hope you've all had a brilliant week so far. Today we're going to be diving into Vechain, a project that we haven't looked at in a little while, but I figured as it's starting to show signs of life again, now was an appropriate time to dive back in. Vechain is a project that I've held for quite a while, and at times it can be quite a painful hold given the kind of volatility that it bears. But we are going to get into it all in this video. We will be looking at the charts, looking at a few other things. We'll be looking at Bitcoin because Vechain, it's an annoying chart. The price action of Vechain is rather annoying because it's not as correlated to the kind of general market as many other altcoins. You can see in orange here, I've got the total money within the cryptocurrency market, and you can see Vechain actually, when many altcoins actually after May's capitulation event went on to make new all-time highs, Vechain didn't. But potentially there is the possibility that you will get rewarded as a Vechain holder later on down the line, because it is a great project. We are going to be diving into some news-related things surrounding Vechain, going over quite a bit, reminding people that they also have a stable coin launching on VTHO, I believe, but it's part of the Vechain ecosystem. And really just going over some news and playing a bit of catch up, because despite the market conditions causing the price to sell off, Vechain has actually continued to gain partnerships, to develop as a blockchain, and really go from strength to strength. And it's another classic case in the cryptocurrency market, as it is a speculative market, really dictating the price of something based on largely speculation and fear and FOMO, than what's actually going on with the project. So we'll get into it all. We'll start with the charts, guys. Let's take a look at Vechain. And like I say, annoying that it doesn't really follow markets necessarily. This is the general kind of market move. And of course, Vechain just didn't play ball and has actually been quite I think for some, very disappointing hold. But you often get coins like this within the crypto space that are disappointing until they're not. When enough comes together, they really excel and kind of outperform. And one thing that excites me for Vechain on a kind of macro weekly time frame, and we'll bring some indicators up in just a second, is indeed the fact, and we did have originally an Elliott wave set up for Vechain that it has essentially validated. But one thing that you could see happening for Vet is some kind of an Elliott wave like this. If we look at percentages, we know Elliott wave theory sort of dictates that the third wave comes in between your, or your fifth wave comes in between your first and your third. And if we can see that was 1,458%, this one was obviously significantly bigger at 3,226%. So if we say we come somewhere in the middle, even 1,000% is taking you towards the sort of $0.50 mark, and then to see continuation from that, even if you just saw the same kind of increase that you got here, you're getting up, starting to get towards $1. So there is still the kind of macro expectation that this may be the case. If we look at some of the indicators for Vechain, this is something we've been watching across the board for a number of different coins, is of course your MACD bullish cross. Now Vechain's chart is a little bit more skittish. You're starting to probably see what I mean by it's quite an annoying chart, but it is still present, and potentially, this is kind of mapping out the waves that we're looking at as well to a degree. Something similar to that. Remember, this isn't a chart. This is an indicator that we're kind of mapping things out on. Also, your RSI was at a historically low point. It's a common trend for lots of these cryptocurrencies. They've kind of reset in terms of indicators and are now looking like buys. And also the sentiment's kind of attuned to that, if you will. But the thing is with Vechain, one reason this has been so painful is because it's really been a victim of overall market sentiment. More so. Now, I put this down to the liquidity and also a lot more probably retail hodlers making up Vechain. And this is probably why you've seen such a capitulation for it. But you've also got to pay attention to what Bitcoin is doing, because if Bitcoin sells off, we've seen it, and Vechain sells off significantly more. But Bitcoin actually looks like we are going to see further upside continuation for a number of reasons that we've got into in great detail. Again, on the weekly, you've got that bullish cross. If you look historically what's happened, also the kind of pattern that it's just broke out of. Let's get into some VeChain news. We'll quickly dive into the short term, just very quickly. You know, you can see you are coming up. You've clearly broken a trend here in a similar fashion to what you did over here. You know, what VeChain has essentially always done. It's very, the trends for it are very noticeable, if that makes sense. You know, that when you get a break, historically, you know, you've got a break off of a kind of this kind of a descending resistance. So you can see it mimics all of the breaks. You know, are we going to see that continuation? I believe so. That isn't financial advice, just something I'm personally looking for. And you can see you've almost had kind of like a triple bottom here for VeChain. In fact, it's considerably bigger than a triple bottom if you count this one over here. You know, this has been a strong floor for VET on a short term. You've made an impulsive move at one point all the way up to 110%. We're now sat at around about 83%. Some kind of a rest, maybe bull flag before continuation is quite likely, I think, or some sort of a structure to kind of take us up. So that's what we're looking for on the big and short-term time frame. Also, Bitcoin looks good. Let's get into a few things. I think this was from a interview with Thinking Crypto, Tony Edward. This is some of the highlights. VeChain hiring 100 new technical staff in Europe. New technological center opening in Ireland, headed by ex-CTO of, well, I'm not even going to try and say that, Antonio Senatori. V-Carbon to be replicated in Europe. V-Carbon is a very interesting thing, tackling carbon credits and a number of other things, and tackling carbon emissions. And then, of course, the university, Draper University's VeChain to spur Web3 business development with acceleration program. So VeChain are who the likes of Draper University have gone to teach about Web3. You know, when I say they're a project that has an amazing team, real fundamentals, amazing partnerships, they absolutely are. Many cryptos out here that are doing very well have nowhere near the kind of credentials that VeChain have, yet they've acquired higher market caps. But that's just kind of how the game goes. You know, you've got to remember VeChain is not on many exchanges at all in comparison with others. It's not on some of the big ones like Coinbase and quite a few other ones. This is from, I'm not even going to try and say his name, you can see it clearly here. We are happy to welcome 3 new members in March 2020. A big welcome to Intertech Academy, Uni President China Holdings Ltd, and VeChain Tech. VeChain and the Consumer Goods Forum. So VeChain are, you know, they're killing it in the food and kind of beverage industry. They're killing it in all industries. You know, they're a very, there's a lot of use cases for VeChain, not just supply chain, which brings me on to the next tweet. Did you know that VeChain is not just a supply chain token? VeChain is a layer 1 smart contract platform. It is indeed. It's easy to forget. It is very much branded, and one thing that I do like about VeChain is they're very niche. They've gone after one market and they've gone after it aggressively. Whereas your sort of smart contract layer 1s, the amount of markets they're applied to are limitless. So I think that they have a bigger scope, but I do really like the way that, you know, VeChain have really tried to go after the supply chain industry, and they've done an amazing job with it. You know, they're partnered with nation states. You know, they've got some fantastic partnerships, and of course, you've got the VUSD coming, which is the VeChain stablecoin. I believe it potentially may already be here. You know, but I think this is built on V4, which is really just part of the VeChain ecosystem. So that is really all I have for you in this video, guys. I didn't want to make it too long. Just wanted to get some thoughts. It's been a little while since we've actually covered VeChain for no other reason really than it's been quite a painful, I mean, from the top to the bottom you were looking at about 87%. So many other altcoins have actually, I mean, it's kind of sold off to the tune a little bit more than most, but not massively. But this was the real kind of disappointer, I think, for VeChain, when it made a high here and then failed to make one here, only to sell off lower. But this floor that we're looking at right here, guys, you know, seems like a strong one, and we have seen quite a significant bounce off of it. So things are looking good for the time being, but we will keep you up to date on this channel. If you guys have enjoyed this content, a like is always appreciated. So is a comment. And I look forward to seeing you all in the next YouTube video. Thanks a lot for watching, ladies and gents.